Hi guys, my name's Chris. I'm the third generation owner of Rainbow Drive-In. Kind of today I just wanted to talk to you guys. You know, I could just give the drive-in story or my story, but I kind of wanted to tie everything in together. So today's topic, if you will, is going to be about defining success and how, you know, my family with the drive-in has defined success over the last 61 years and how I define success. And hopefully you guys can take away a few things from that. So first of all, what is Rainbow Drive-In? I know some of you guys maybe aren't from here or have never been. We just like to define ourselves as local comfort food. Basically, what you see, 2 scoops of rice, 1 scoop mac salad, any type of meat, chili, and usually with gravy all over for us. We're a third generation family business, and we stand on our 3 pillars, and we really want to emphasize these: our employees, our customers, and the community. It's very easy to get lost in, you know, just making money and, you know, being as tight or as lean as possible. But we also have to remember that, you know, without our employees, we'd be nothing. It would be me cooking, scooping rice, and cashiering at the same time. Without our customers, we would have no business, and without the community support, you know, we wouldn't be where we are now. We wouldn't have survived 3 generations. So this is my family. As you can see, I'm the only child. I have no brothers, sisters, first cousins. So, you know, for me growing up, it was kind of my responsibility to be a part of the business. I was given the leeway from my parents to say, you know what, go and pursue your passion, come back when you're ready, and, you know, we can work from there. So this is my grandma and grandpa. They started it back in '61, and then everyone in red are people that have worked in the business, and the others are just family. Normally when people think of restaurants, they don't think of entrepreneurship. We actually are a story of entrepreneurship. The man on the left is my grandpa. He was born here in Ewa Beach, but his family moved back to Okinawa, I'd say when he was really young. I think in maybe like 8 or 9. But he loved Hawaii so much that he had some family still here. He moved back here. And that was right before World War II, right before Pearl Harbor. When Pearl Harbor happened, you guys probably all know the story, he signed up to be a part of the 100th Battalion, 442, to go fight for the US in Italy. From that, he learned his passion for cooking. He could always cook at home, and I'm sure all you guys can cook at home something nice and fancy, but when you have to cook for hundreds, thousands of people, it takes kind of a different skill. So that's where he learned the skill and his passion, and he brought it back home after. He first opened up a place called Welcome Inn in Chinatown that was more a diner style. Unfortunately, that one didn't kind of catch, and he's like, you know what? That one didn't work, but I'm not giving up. I love cooking. This is what I want to do. Opened another one, Kalakaua Drive in Waikiki, where Cheeseburger Paradise is now. That one, the lease didn't work out. The guy wanted him to buy the entire property, and he just didn't have the money, so he's like, I have to move again, but I'm not giving up. This is where we settled, where we are right now on Kapahulu. We opened October 2nd, 1961. This is a picture from around our opening day. If you guys know Rainbow Drive-In, these bricks are literally still here. Those windows are still there. The top has changed a little bit, the outer has changed a little bit, but our foundation is still there. And this is where I kind of want to go into defining success. So when we first opened, we had 8 employees and we did 200 plates a day. Success for my grandpa at that point was surviving, you know, paying the bills, being able to continue his business, basically. He's fighting there every single day. He said he used to get up at 2 a.m. to cut potatoes, peel carrots for the stew. And that was just every day, 2 a.m. to around, at that time we stayed up until midnight, so I think he probably went home and someone else closed up, but he was just there nonstop. In 1975, my dad moved home to help work and help, you know, expand the business. From there, my dad was a computer engineer for United Airlines in San Francisco, so he understood processes. So we changed the definition of success then to solidifying the processes, right? When you start off as a restaurant, you just know your recipes, you know, handful of this, handful of that, little bit, splash here, splash there. My dad's job was then to really solidify, this is how much per serving, this is how much per recipe. In 1992, my uncle took over from my dad, who was still working in the company, but my uncle was a little younger and brought a fresher perspective to it. And his definition of success was to grow the business. So I'll get into it a little bit later, but we have many different avenues. He tried to open a food truck before food trucks kind of were a thing. That didn't work out, we closed that. We also opened a different location that didn't work out, but his idea was keep trying until something catches. Today, wow, I didn't update that slide for a while. We have 40 plus employees, and from 200 plates a day, we can now do around 1,200 plates a day, plus 700 sandwiches, and I don't even know how many drinks and slush floats and things. So from this little footprint, we've grown so much that we now can do that much. And we have three locations total and different revenue streams. So when people think of Rainbows, they think of just our normal, you know, one location. But actually underneath it, we have our Rainbow Drive-In. We have Hawaii Server Kitchens, which are our shave ice and poke next door. We have our t-shirts, franchise business, and we own some properties. So for me, kind of taking over, it was very intimidating to, you know, try and learn all of these at once. Just a brief overview, Rainbow Tiki, you know, it started, this is the original design for our one t-shirt. Somebody made it for us and they're like, hey, like, I'll print them, you guys sell them, we split it. We used to do that out of the windows, and it really took off, and it really slowed down the process of people trying to size up while they're ordering food, trying on the shirts and everything. So we built a whole different logo store. So like, we run a retail business now. And this all goes back to the entrepreneurship of taking something that is popular, profitable, and scaling it. Wait, sorry. And then Hawaii Server Kitchens, right now it's right next door. Like I said, we do complimentary products to Rainbows. So if you want a plate lunch, follow it up with shave ice, or we do some salads and poke if you want a healthier option. Okay, my story. That's my dad. So my story is, I was born and raised here, and how I evolved success over time, I was trained to play tennis. From 4 years old, I practiced 3 times a day, including weekends. I don't know, maybe my dad didn't think I was smart enough to get to college with grades, so I had to play tennis. But for me, at that time, as a kid, during high school, success for me was just winning. I didn't care about anything else. I would give up friends, like hanging out with friends, going out and stuff. All I cared about was practice and winning. And that led into Punahou, graduated in 2004, and then Santa Clara. Was more focused on getting good grades. I lost my passion for tennis, which happens. You lose passions over time. So I had to redefine what success was for me. I didn't do great at Punahou, just to be honest. But I did grad school at Santa Clara. I have a master's in computer engineering. And that was my passion, and that's how I define success. And that led me into my software engineering career. And success for me at that time, you're young, the tech business, you make a lot of money. It was just like, make money, go have fun on weekends, things like that. That to me was successful. In 2015, I made a gigantic leap. My wife, girlfriend at the time, graduated from optometry school. She was moving home. And I was like, all right, it's time for me to really focus on Rainbows. So I basically gave up everything. I took a $95,000 pay cut to move home and work for the business. And for me, something I've grown up is, you know, I'm not going to be thrown into CEO. I'm not going to be thrown, you know, into a manager. I literally, in 2015, I worked 100 straight days when I moved home, jumping in the trash can, scooping rice, cashiering, chasing homeless away. Like everything, every role possible. And what I appreciate now, but I was mad at the time, was that I was getting paid the absolute minimum wage. But for me to learn that that's what it takes. You know, this is what we're paying our people to do. Do it for that cost, and you know, that's why we want to take care of them. And my success when I first came home is planning and getting ready for me to take over, because I am the only child. Obviously, I took over in 2019 as CEO. 2020 hit, we had much different challenges. Success for us at that time was keeping our employees healthy, keeping our employees employed. You know, some of our cashiers that we had employed over 30 years would come up to me in tears saying, I don't know how I'm going to pay rent. I don't know, like I lost my other job. Can I get more hours? So we did everything we could. We basically just said, look, we're going to break even, and everything else we're giving back to our employees to make sure they have jobs. I don't care if they're folding boxes or doing something small for 8 hours, they have a job, and we'll get through this. And I mean, along with all the other challenges of we can do takeout, we can't do dine-in, we can't do this, we can only do this, and like every day it was being agile. But our main definition of success for that was making sure our employees were taken care of. And into the future. So success for me now is I love to learn. Whether it's sitting like how you guys are in different webinars or seminars, also being uncomfortable. This isn't my natural comfort zone. I don't like speaking in front of people, but it's pushing me to do things that I don't like, and that's helping me be a better person. Succession planning. I don't really have kids right now, but it is hopefully in the future. So planning out, even if we don't have kids, I need to plan out if I were to die, my wife and I were to pass away suddenly, what's going to happen with the drive-in? Or if I do have kids, what's going to happen with that? And a big thing is owning the business versus business owning me. I think in entrepreneurship, as I worked in tech for a long time, you give everything to the business, and it's hard to step back and see where that business is going to go. Especially in the restaurant, it's the same thing every single day. You can easily get caught up in just, okay, today I'm just going to scoop rice, tomorrow I'm going to scoop rice. But stepping back and saying, where are we going to be in 5 years? Where are we going to be in 10 years? Where are we going to be in a week? And that's very important to me and something I'm working on. So just kind of a synopsis of everything. Everyone is going to evolve their definition of success and over time. And what I really want to leave you guys with is, for you to go home and be like, what is my definition of success today? Sometimes it's just making it through the day. Everyone's had that where it's just like, I got to get through today, that's it. Whether it's, maybe I'm going to have a new job by the end of this year. I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. Even if your definition of success is, I want to own a Lamborghini in 5 years, fine, work for it, okay? So, that's what I kind of want to leave you guys with. What is your definition of success? So, thank you.
Okay, so I didn't realize that you also were a computer science major. What made you go back to school and get your master's at computer?
So, sorry, something I forgot to mention is I also have my MBA from Shidler, 2018. As a computer engineer, we're trained to be as efficient as possible. And you don't get the holistic view of the business, something that a lot of engineers don't realize is morale. If everyone's happy in the company, productivity is a lot better. But as an engineer, you look at the numbers and you're just like, no, this can be efficient. So coming here, I got a more holistic view of the business in general. How marketing ties into finance, how it ties into accounting, how it ties into sales, and all that kind of stuff. So for me, it's great because engineering taught me a lot, and I brought a lot of those skills to the business, but going to UH really helped me. It's not a sales pitch, by the way. Really helped me round out myself.
Yeah, that's super cool. What's been the biggest challenge that Rainbow Drive-In and you have faced, and how were you able to overcome it?
I think the biggest challenge for me was taking over the CEO role in 2019. family businesses are tricky. It's not as clean as everyone thinks. It's not just, welcome to the family business, here's the keys, go. Or like, I'll train you. Basically, we had a little bit of internal disagreements, and my uncle who was running it at the time just said, okay, January 1st, 2019, here's some papers on your desk that you need to sign, and good luck. And he left. So I had to learn everything from the ground up. As I show you, running 5 different types of businesses too. But trusting in myself and the skills to get me through. It was not easy days, but I mean, if you guys are going to create your own business, you're going to learn that you just got to persevere and trust yourself and trust your skills. Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit more about your transition in your career? Because taking like the pay cut, working in a restaurant, like I know those are long hours. I worked in a restaurant, and like what motivated that? Yeah.
I think a lot of it had to do with my grandparents sacrificed a lot to get me where I am. So the motivation came from that. It came from wanting to make an impact in Hawaii too. But that transition, it was frustrating, right? As but I think working with the crew and getting to know a lot of my employees more, that really was motivating too. Especially the ones that, it's weird that you used to call them auntie and uncle, and now you have to speak to them as an equal or above, depending on where you are. But just, for me, it was just like, it was a blur because it was just like whatever needed to be done at the time. Sorry, I don't know if that really answered your question.
No.
Okay, thanks.
I guess, how are you able to like split up your time between all the different segments that Rainbow Dragon has? And do you have a calendar, like a planner every day?
Yeah, every day I try to focus on different things, different parts of the business. But if any of you guys have worked in restaurants, it's always new fires every single day. Something broke, something is wrong, somebody called out. So for me, I'm still learning to this day is like how to compartmentalize everything and being like, no, like I need to focus on this for this hour. I need to work on franchises on Tuesdays. I need to do all this kind of stuff. And getting people used to like, don't really ask unless it's an absolute emergency, because being distracted is part of kind of the service industry in general, just distractions everywhere.
Yeah. That's really, I don't know. Oh, do you have a question?
Yeah.
I kind of have a question about just like when you think about like just in kind of like the restaurant industry, when you think about like the growing rapid speed of this whole thing, because I know a lot of like restaurants now that's located in Waikiki, it's focused on like, rather than just like going out to eat and make it like entertaining and make it like put on a show, and it's like they charge a lot for that.
Mm-hmm.
But whereas I feel like Rainbow Dragon is focused on more like you said, your grandpa started off like surviving, is more like profitability and affordability, and like more on that aspect. So how do you think that's going to play in like as the restaurant continues to grow? Do you think people will still go out just to, because I feel like when people decide to go out to get food, they're already deciding they're going to be spending a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like more people are rather choosing to go some like, there's more people choosing high-end restaurants rather than like home taste meal, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good point. It's a lot of people are going for experiences now too, right? They want that whole experience. And for us, we want to balance the nostalgia as part of the experience. So when we say we market to locals, right? We want to market it as, this is the place you used to go, grandma and grandpa used to take you after the beach. This is the place where, we have families, and that is where we kind of try and hit home more. Because for us, we can't really compete with those higher end, showier restaurants that are more expensive. Our price point will always be, our margins are thin, but because of volume, we're lucky enough to be able to survive. But we don't want to, even there was talk before, because of Instagram, TikTok, all of that stuff, making the food as pretty as possible, and we try our best, but if you cover something in gravy, it's going to just look brown. So we really do count on that comfort food and that nostalgia that people know. And for the tourists, it's like a lot of it's they want to just try a local, or they want to try Hawaiian food, which we don't classify ourselves as, but internationally it's hard to differentiate. And I think as we expand and grow, we don't really want to touch that DNA, because that's what we're known for. Yeah?
I feel like I kind of phrase that question a little bit weird, but I feel like what I'm more trying to get at, it's not how you're competing with other industries, but it's what makes a restaurant successful. Because an example I can give is the really popular udon place in Waikiki where there's every day there's people lining up. The same restaurant, the same concept opens at Chinatown. They don't have the same amount of customer. The customer amount in comparison is you can't even imagine. It's a lot of difference.
Yeah.
So what do you think makes a restaurant
Successful? I think it's just, for us, it's the consistency, the price point, and the nostalgia factor. Because we really haven't changed too much in the past 61 years. It's just people know what they're going to get. And to be honest, with tourists outside of Hawaii, it's just we've been lucky enough to be on shows, dining drive-ins and dives, and they just want to try it. But for the locals, we've been there. They know that it's going to be cheap, it's going to be fast, and they can get in, get out, all that kind of stuff. We're trying to make it more efficient, but yeah, I think that's the recipe for success that we've established. Yeah. Sorry, did that answer your question? Yeah.
Do you have any regrets leaving the software engineering industry and going into this industry?
I think originally I did, especially with those long hours and with the pay cut and all that. But now I really don't. I have the opportunity to lead, our company into the next. My goal is to get us to 100 years, so only 30 more. But it's an opportunity I didn't want to see passed up, and I didn't want. For me, one of my goals was every place I grew up eating in Hawaii, when I went with grandma, grandpa, whatever, closed. And I didn't want Rainbows to be one of those places that are they just sold to the mainland, or, they just had to fold up. So, yeah, that's why.
Obviously, during COVID, it was hard for both the business and the workers there. As a CEO, where do you draw the line between being a kind boss and taking care of your employees, and then putting the business first and its profits?
Yeah, COVID was, we really had to struggle with that. But kind of like I said, I talked with some of our leadership, and we're okay if we break even for, what did they tell us, 2 weeks at first? But we're okay breaking even. We'll make a little bit here. We don't have anything big planned in the future during that time. And, we didn't want people we didn't want people in Hawaii that lived here. We hate to see them move, right? Away, priced out of paradise is what people say. And for us, we kept giving pay raises. We didn't, also on the flip side, we didn't touch our prices for almost the entirety of COVID, because we knew people were struggling. And even if it's $1 cheaper than we could have raised it, we can still break even. The big thing was pushing the marketing that we're open. And you know what? The locals came out to support, and that's why we're so appreciative of that. We had the opportunity to keep everyone employed and continue the business.
One of the questions kind of going off that I have is, what is one of the biggest things that you're working on at the moment for the business?
Yeah, so we would love to remodel. It is not as easy as it sounds. We don't even own the land that we're on. We've been leasing it for 61 years, and I just renewed for another 15. We're trying to get actually 50 added onto that too. But as you guys saw in the slideshow, it's the same footprint that we started with. We do 1,200 plates a day off one 4-foot flat top, 2-basket fryer, and we cook 110 cups of rice an hour. So it's chaos back there, to be honest. And you know, the pipes are old, the vents are old, so we do have a remodel planned probably in the next 4 or 5 years, but it's gonna take a lot. Yeah.
For remodeling, would you have to shut down the restaurant? Or would it
We might have to shut down for maybe a month or two while they dig up the floors and repipe everything, but we're trying to do everything in phases so we don't have to, as much.
I guess for the branding, would like you guys still keep the same foundation, or are you guys planning on?
We want to keep it as nostalgic as possible, and probably use the same colors, same tiles. We might actually go back to the original sign. That's kind of the sign that we've had for the last 20, 30 years. But we might go back to the original sign just based on the footprint of things. But branding-wise, we don't want to change. You know, if we still want to have the concept of order pickup, seating, and you know, auntie's there taking your order that you've known for 10 years, she knows your order already, that kind of stuff we don't want to touch. Maybe adding a kiosk or two for that stuff, but yeah, we don't really want to stray away from what we are.
I guess since we're all college students, do you have any advice for like us going, I guess, before we graduate? Do you have any like regrets leaving?
Regrets? For me, it was probably I shouldn't have played tennis for so long because I played in college, and D1 sports are a different animal, especially with engineering. It was almost impossible. I didn't really have time for anything. If my biggest regret was I should have just went into, you know, a college and gotten the college experience more. But my tip for you guys is don't be afraid to fail. You know, if I can jump into this business, survive COVID with no training, you guys can do it. Like, just believe in yourself. I think that's one of the biggest things, is that believe in yourself. And if you're passionate about it, look at my grandpa. He failed twice and ended up where we are now. So, you know, even if you do fail, you're gonna learn from that and grow and be better. So don't be afraid to take any risks. Yeah?
So, honestly, thank you for sharing your grandpa story, because I'm sure failure, like especially when starting a business, is scary for anyone who plans to start one. And I wanted to ask you if you were comfortable sharing any maybe failed projects that you've gone through, and like how you've recovered from that.
Yeah. Geez, I fail a lot. I mean, whether it's like smaller failures, like I wish we could have hired more at a certain point, to, you know what, we just had to close one of our franchises. I take it upon myself as a failure, but it's more, what do we learn from that? And I think that's the most important thing. You know, you can be upset or down for a little bit, totally justified, but it's more, what did I learn and how can I be better, that you grow out of it.
Who, besides I guess like your family, your grandparents and father, who inspires you the most? Do you have any like, people that you look up to?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think my inspiration comes a lot from, you know, our employees. I see how hard they work, and I want to make their jobs easier, and I want to make their lives better. And you know, if things go wrong, if things break, you know, trying to help them as fast as possible. And I guess that's kind of short-term inspiration. Long-term wise, I don't know. I look up to my dad a lot, and I know he's out of family, but I mean, he was with my grandpa early in the morning, like cutting potatoes, scooping rice, cooking, all that kind of stuff. His arms are just all burned, and like that just really inspires me. And he still wants to work. I fired him during the pandemic because I was like, go home, you're fine. Like, I'll pay you, just go home. But he just loves the job and he loves to work. And it's like, I want that kind of passion. I love the job. It's just like that intensity. And that's really inspirational to me. Yeah.
I have a question. So Hawaii is facing a serious cut from everything. Employee shortages, a lot of restaurant closing like that. You as Rainbow Driving, you stay in business 61 years, but that is something like a lot of business cannot control. So how do you do that?
Yeah, our costs have soared recently in the last year or so. Our mayonnaise, which we use for our mac salad, went up 75% one day. They're just like, the next order, this is how much is going up. Our labor, we always want to give biannual raises, so twice a year. We're never going to stop that. So for us, it's more controlling things like waste, things like overtime, making sure that we don't spend too much on overtime, and balancing. I have a whole spreadsheet, but balancing the costs or how much we sell the products for. We have our targets, and we want to keep it around there. And as long as the volume keeps up, then we'll be fine. But yeah, it's been very tough, especially in the restaurant industry. For us, Bill 40, the plastic ban, our costs of those goods almost went up 20 times just overnight. So we're going to stay in compliance, but at some point we have to raise prices. And hopefully people can understand that. There's always people that don't, and I get yelled at, but it's okay. Yeah.
So in the restaurant that I work in, managers are always like, oh, don't do this, because of this reason, profit margins. What are some things that make it all the way up to the CEO where you're you can see people haven't been doing that, or you're telling your managers, make sure the employees are doing this?
Yeah, I mean,
Happen at that?
actually, I kind of have an open door. So even if there's any issues that arise, even if a cashier's hey, how come we're doing it this way? They can come and talk to me. And we'll try and figure it out. Usually there's a reason why. I mean, we've done it for so long, but we've implemented new things, and we try to listen to everyone. But I understand, because I think we run more as a family there, that everyone can just tell each other, hey, this is why we do it. But I don't know what restaurant you work in, but I know the rigidity of some of those. The chef says whatever he says, and that's it, and it doesn't matter. But yeah, that's kind of where we stand. It's just open door policy. If anybody has anything to tell me, we have an anonymous feedback form if they want to fill it out online. Just be hey, how come we're doing this? Or even sometimes hey, I think someone is stealing something, right? Taking home some stuff, and then I can go check the cameras. But that's kind of how we do it.
So it says you've been over the business. What implementations have you created or added on into the way that Regiment operates, and has it been takeable? Or have your implementations been takeable?
Yeah.
If not, how have you dealt with that?
People hate change, but change has to happen. As a person in tech, I just saw a lot of inefficiencies. When I came in, we did handwritten time cards, which was an absolute nightmare. So you would grab your time card, write in what time you came in, write in what time you clocked out. Somebody at the end of the week had to read your handwriting, check against the schedule, and write down your hours.
2015.
Huh?
Up until 2015.
Up until 2019.
Oh, 2015.
So it wasn't even one of those punch things. So implemented, we have biometric facial scanners now. It's a little much, but because we work with Ultras, and they were hey, we want to test this new technology with you guys. I'm okay. We never had security cameras. We have cloud-enabled security cameras now. Our cash registers in 2019 were Casio old punch kind, where you get the little strip and you rip it off. We have fully integrated cloud systems now. And yeah, I mean, for me, it's just, I want to change as much as I can in the kitchen without affecting the customer-facing side too much, so that online ordering, we don't do delivery anymore ever since the pandemic kind of ended. But yeah, I mean, it's all the technology side in the back. Our older employees who don't know how to use an iPad or don't know how to do touchscreen, it took them a very long time. Some got frustrated. But we just had to be patient with them and show them. And now I think everyone's pretty much on board with everything. Yeah.
I'm sure you had a lot of like, I guess moving back into this business from coming to tech, you see a lot of things that can be done very differently.
Yeah.
So yeah.
But tempering my aspirations and not doing everything tech, because
Yeah.
I think if people go to SF, there's ghost kitchens now, there's fully automated stuff, and it's great. Like having robots serve you is great, but it's not where we are and what we need. Yeah.
Do you ever think that rainbow driving will like become that area always?
I don't know. Not right now. But if there's things that can help the efficiency of, especially making plates or something, we'll take a look at it. But not right now. Yeah.
I guess what are some of the biggest issues that rainbow driving faces with your sister companies?
I think it's kind of what we talked about. The biggest issues are just the costs of everything going up so fast. And, we don't want to sell plate lunches for $15 to $20. We understand that that's kind of industry standard at this point, but we want to be, especially near Waikiki, we want to be one of the cheapest options for people. And that's why a lot of people come. So, yeah, it's kind of keeping our margins so that we can survive, but also, not raise the prices too much.
I guess outside of work, how do you spend most of your time, and what are you working on at the moment? Anything?
Outside of work, I just volunteer on a few boards. The Okinawan Association, I'm part of like 7 committees for them. I'm part of a board for Christy Yamaguchi's Always Dream. She does literacy programs here in Hawaii that are targeted at pre-K, K. And then I'm on a couple like advisory boards for technology that we use that, they want to hear what their customers have to think, but just volunteering my time. Like I said, I want to make the biggest impact in Hawaii that I can. And with the drive-in or myself, trying to find ways to do that. Yeah.
Which one of them takes the most of your time?
The Okinawan Association. If you guys ever been to the festival, the one at Convention Center, I run the entire kitchen, so anything having to do with food and beverage, I do that. Also budget and finance for them. Any virtual programming, filming, editing, sound editing, I do. I have teams for that, but yeah, just volunteering my time as much as I can. Yeah.
How was the last festival?
It was good. It was stressful. I didn't eat for 2 days. But no, I mean, to see, and I think I do it also, the Okinawan stuff especially, is because my grandpa and grandma were both Okinawan. And they, like I said earlier, they sacrificed a lot for me. They helped pay for Putahole, they helped pay for my college. And I just learned that my grandpa was fighting for the US in Italy, and his 2 sisters and dad were killed by the US at the same time in Okinawa. It's just the amount that he sacrificed and went through. I just always hope to make him proud.
Yeah. Do you have any other experiences that you would want to share?
Any other questions or anything?
So I know that the menu is always, it's always expanding, you guys are taking things out. So let's say a family comes in, never tried rainbow driving before.
Yeah.
What are you recommending?
Oh, I always ask how hungry they are.
Okay.
Because if they're really hungry, we usually do the mix or gravy all over. If they're Hawaiian hungry, boneless chicken with chili on the rice. And I've seen some weird plates before. My personal is just barbecue pork because it's lighter and I don't have to take a nap after. But yeah, I mean, if it's mainland, they always want to try the local. It's just unique, I guess, to Hawaii. But yeah, it's mostly the mixed plate or boneless and then side slush float always. Yeah.
Thank you.
Do you all cater to vegetarians, vegans, or pescatarians?
That's something that we're really trying to build into. like I said, we don't have much space in the drive-in at all. We don't even have space to hold brown rice. Everyone asks us why we have brown rice, and we're like, we literally just don't have space. And so this remodel is going to be taking the kitchen out a little bit more and having the opportunity to cook different things. Because right now, our grill during rush hour, our grill is just full for like 5 hours straight. Like we can't put anything else down. The cooks already know how to kind of manage everything so that we can keep up. But it's something we do want to take a look at too. Yeah.
So you said that you're doing this today to, like make yourself uncomfortable and improve your public speaking skills, which I think are fine. But what kind of skills do you think these guys can work on while they're in school before they enter the workforce? Like, what kind of skills can help them be successful?
I think one of the biggest skills that, I learned it more through the MBA program is how to communicate with different types of people. You guys have all probably heard of the DISC profile and all of that stuff, and there's probably that one person you absolutely hate working with. It's figuring out how to communicate with them. You don't have to like them. You just need to know how to communicate with them. And maybe they just like everything presented neatly in a list, and that's how they work, and that's what's best for you guys. But yeah, like learning to read different types of people and learning how to work with them, that's one of the biggest skills. Because the workforce, especially, even a company of 10, you're going to have different personalities, and you're going to need to communicate with them. So I think it's something, like even, I told my wife, because she just learned it at this other leadership event, it's like, just talking, when you meet somebody, in your head, just be like, what type of person is this? Are they like a sociable person? Are they like, do they need things very organized? And then kind of just practicing that. You don't have to tell them or anything. I told her as easy as, what house are they in Harry Potter? And she's like, oh, that's a Hufflepuff. I'm like, perfect. Like, learn to recognize that skill, and that way you can communicate a lot better.
Does anyone else have any questions?
Oh, sorry.
I know you mentioned about current franchise and then one franchise that closed. So what do you kind of determine when you're opening a new franchise to see whether it's going to be profitable or not?
That is a major project that I'm working on, actually. We're creating we're basically, my uncle really wanted to do the franchise thing. And so the ball was rolling when I stepped in. And, my uncle was really, really smart, or is really, really smart. He's still alive. But he did things old school way, where it's just like, we're just going to go, right? Like, we're just going to try it and do it. And we didn't have the processes. We barely had the franchise documents that you need. We kind of just copy pasted some stuff from Subway, McDonald's, different things. So part of my job now is to kind of hone things in so that we can sell franchises that are more successful, and having pro formas, projections for them, being like, hey, how many square feet? What's your rent? If you can do like this much a day, like 3,000 to 5,000 a day, you would make this much kind of thing. And that's where we want to make sure that, because we do want to expand. We've been asked from neighbor islands, California, Seattle, Las Vegas, all the way to Australia, Japan, Paris, Egypt. We have like serious offers out there, but I don't feel comfortable until we can tighten everything up. Yeah. You got a question?
Yeah, so my dad is thinking of opening a restaurant in Waikiki.
Awesome.
But he wants to do it, he thinks it's a very easy project, and he wants to do it fully automated.
Okay.
So he wants to do like no workers and everything very affordable.
Okay.
Like, what's your opinion on the project?
That's great. For me, the thing is, he just really needs to be a master of all that technology. Because when something breaks, he has to go and fix it. And there's nothing wrong with those restaurants, those types of restaurants, and they probably run as efficient as possible. I don't know what type of, is it like, what kind of food is
So
it?
you can also do like noodles.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So like udon or like
Yeah,
ramen
something
kind of
like
stuff.
ramen.
Yeah. In Japan they have those already. They have
Yeah.
udon vending machines.
Yeah.
So yeah, go for it. I thought you were gonna say like he wants to start a family restaurant. I was like, okay, I'll talk to you later. You're gonna go through some stress, but yeah. No, I mean, that's awesome.
So you think there's like a future market?
Yeah, definitely. I think so. Especially on the grab and go. People just want, like today I just was trying to grab lunch in Salt and they're like, oh, this is gonna take 25 minutes. I'm like, I don't have that. I just gotta go to H Mart and just grab a bento and go, kind of thing. And that's the market that he's probably targeting. Yeah. Cool. Yeah.
So I live in Kaliki, and there was a Rainbow Drive-In that opened by my house. I was just wondering why you guys decided to open in that location and how it differs from like the Waikiki location.
I don't know the exact reason. It was open before I kind of took over. I was just working at the drive-in. I think they were friends of like my uncle and our head chef, and they wanted to give it a shot. That was kind of like our experiment thing. And I mean, compared to all our franchises compared to the main one they're going to do less revenue, but they're recovering now. I think you know, because you live nearby, that Hofstadter Street was under construction for 2 years. And so that really hurt them, but I think things are getting back now, and they're, like their initial build-out loan is almost paid off, so they should be in terms now. Yeah.
So I'm just curious about, for restaurant, there's a serious problem with quality control, and it's major problems, especially your franchising.
Yep.
So if you're franchising, how do you control that?
That is the biggest. So with franchises, you basically take your business and put it in someone else's hands and say, I trust you to run it like how we do. It's never going to turn out the same, ever. But what we do is we have our chefs go weekly and taste test, and random times in the week, so it's not like they prepare. But you know, it isn't the same all the time, and that's some of the processes that we need to figure out whether, you know, do we do like kind of a small central kitchen thing, or do we like vendor out when people make it for all of us kind of thing, and that's kind of where we are now. It's not franchise model, but Zippy's, they have their main central kitchen in Waipio, and every morning they ship out to everything, right? So it tastes the same. But that's a $10 million plus facility that we don't have. So right now we train them, they come in, we train them for about a month, especially the head chefs or the cooks over there. And then, yeah, we just try and go and check on them. There is a thing that if I took the same plate from our kakahulu and put it somewhere else, it's gonna taste different to people just because the atmosphere is different. You know, it's plated different maybe because they use clamshells, but we still stick with the plates. But it is something that we're always trying to be aware of. Yeah. Sorry.
Oh, should
back first.
So as somebody who's in a leadership position, we talked a little bit about soft skills, and I was just curious, what are some technical skills or hard skills that you use the most on a day-to-day practice?
Sorry, what do you exactly mean by like technical?
Technical is in like accounting, like finance,
Oh, okay.
basic numbers, or like more maybe learning like technical as in tech skills?
Yeah.
Yeah.
On a day-to-day basis.
Mm-hmm.
So for us right now, our software kind of integrates into our recipe costings. So every time we get an invoice, we can take a picture of it and it updates our recipes and how much our plates cost. It's monitoring that for me, monitoring our cash flow, you know, signing checks, and even kind of that being like, okay, which account are we taking out of, and all that kind of smaller stuff I do on a daily basis. But for me, it's more at this point, it's like planning how we're gonna move forward. So like running projections, and especially, you know, if we have to take out a $3 to $5 million loan, you know, how is that gonna affect our cash flow? How are we gonna, you know, finance that correctly? So that's kind of where I'm at right now, day to day.
Cool.
Yeah. And fixing things that break all the time.
Love that.
Did you restart it? Oh no, restart it, kind of thing, yeah.
My question is similar to him, but like stepping into the CEO position and managing 40+ employees, what are some skills and attributes or things that
make a good leader and manager?
You know, for me, I don't even think about that too much, but for me it's like having the right team to help you, because without my team I would be like, I'd go crazy. The skills, one of the biggest skills is listening. It's, you know, an employee comes to you, if it takes them enough for them to come to you and talk to you, that means they deeply care about it. And the skill of just listening and trying to absorb, even if you don't agree, trying to absorb where they're coming from, that was something I had to learn. And that ties into kind of patience too, that, you know, you want to freak out a lot when things don't go right, but just taking a breath and moving forward. Yeah.
Does anyone else have any last word?
Or one more. I know you mentioned for scale, like the grill space specifically, is it getting filled? Is there like a cap on how much plate lunch you can sell in one day? And like if so, how would you expand after you hit that cap?
So there is lunch and dinner rushes, especially during the summer. We're just maxed. We can't do literally any more because of kitchen space. We can take thousands of orders, but it's going to take hours for them to get it. So part of our plan is to put more kitchen space, more grills, more fryers. And that way also we can just turn faster. So like right off the grill, straight to the plate, out. Like we pride ourselves in quickness. If you order a mixed plate, not during lunch rush, maybe like around 11 o'clock, it should be out within 55 seconds. We're constantly cooking, so it's just they grab, put it together, out. Gravy's already made, like if they need to pour gravy, that kind of stuff. And we're really efficient at that. But when it does hit those congested periods, that's why what's triggering our kind of expansion and renovation. Yep.
Yeah, my question is kind of focused on the land use. So if I'm not wrong, you mentioned that you guys just signed a new lease for the land for 15 years. Is there any reason why you would choose land lease instead of like acquiring the land? Like, is it because of the acquisition or the?
It's the family that owned the land. It's literally in their will to never sell that piece. And so what I've been doing is building a rapport with the landowners and just being realistic with them. Like, hey, so our rent was actually supposed to go up 75% in June. But just sitting down talking with them, we got it down to be like, hey, we're doing this renovation, can we get some relief? And you know, we've offered a ton for that land, and they're just like, sorry, grandma or mom said no, and in the will. So.
Do you see that location that you're in as essential to the business, or would you ever consider moving it to other places where, you know, like the operating expense were lower down?
We do. We actually own a piece of land on Kapahulu where Go Bananas is. We own that lot. But for us, the location is so iconic that we're not at the point where we need to. If we absolutely needed to, we could. But also, just like the walkability, we want to be the first kind of plate lunch place walking up Kapahulu, especially for tourists. We all know our parking sucks, and that's never going to change. I really can't do much about that. But even the other location doesn't have great parking. So for us, it's just, we want to ride this out, and we want to make sure that, you know, we give it our best shot, and if we have to, we will. Yeah. I think people would be very shocked and sad if we were like, even to move 2 blocks down, they're just going to be like, what the heck's going on? Like, I don't know how to do this anymore.
Does anyone else have any more questions? Well, that's it. Thank you so much
Thank you, guys.
for
I appreciate it.